So, this is gonna be about shipping. Shipping your stuff, shipping your products, and shipping your service, basically. But more of always, but more as always after the intro. I'm sorry, and I'm pumped. I'm pretty pumped because this is actually an episode for tomorrow. Because tomorrow I am probably not gonna have too much time, and I do not want to force myself to do something. Especially when I now have the time for doing something that I like to do, which is amazing, which is really great. But yeah, with this being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And before I actually forget to mention, this episode is also available as a podcast, because it actually is a podcast. This actually is only the video to the podcast, which means that you can also listen to the whole experience, which means that it is a way more efficient way to consume this episode, because it is probably going to be a 30-minute or maybe even 40-minute episode, and it's just some time, it's just some time and some unused time if you're just sitting here for 30 fucking minutes and basically only listening to me and not watching me. Therefore, if you're just listening to me through the podcast on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or on any other platform you might be using, you can do something simultaneously. You could be cooking something, you could be tidying up your room, you could be walking your dog, you could be doing so many different things while you're consuming this episode, which makes everything or just consuming this episode way more efficient because you can do two things at a time, which might or might not be able when you're just listening and or actually watching this YouTube video, even though I know that a lot of people, which is actually something that I do as well, just click on this video and then only listen to it, something that a lot of people seem to be doing nowadays, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, as I said, we're going to talk about shipping your products and shipping your stuff and whatever you might be doing, also your content. And it is something really interesting, and it is something that I've actually gone from Seth Godin, and this is also one of the reasons why I found an article from Seth Godin on shipping. I've actually been searching for something like that, and I found it, fortunately, because it's a pretty great introduction into what I'm going to talk about and into what I want to say, and what I want to spread. Now, therefore, I'm just going to read it, and then afterwards, I'm going to talk about it. The fear of shipping. Shipping is fraught with risk and danger. Every time you raise your hand, send an email, launch a product, or make a suggestion, you are exposing yourself to criticism. Not just criticism, but the negative consequences that come with wasting money, annoying someone in power, of making a fool of yourself. It is no wonder we are afraid to ship. It is not clear. It's not clear you have much choice, though. A life spent curled in a ball, hiding in the corner might seem less risky, but in fact, it is certain to lead to ennui and eventually failure. So ennui, it is ENNUI, which is boredom. It's a French word. Boredom, tedium, listenerless, lethargy, or it's lethargy, isn't it? Lassitude, languor, resentlessness, weariness, all those things. Since you're going to ship anyway, then the question is, why bother indulging your fear? In a long-distance race, everyone gets tired. The winner is the runner who figures out where to put the tired, figures out how to store it away until after the race is over. Sure, he is tired. Everyone is, but that's not the point. The point is to run. Same thing is true for shipping. I think everyone is afraid. Where do you put the fear? And it is definitely a metaphor. It is a metaphor for various things, even though he was also talking about what it actually means as well by saying things like, every time you raise your hand, send an email, launch a product, or make a suggestion. It is basically like standing up for yourself and saying your opinion and talking about what you think, because it definitely makes you, or it actually imposes you or exposes you to criticism, as Seth also said there. And this is definitely something that not a lot of people want to have and want to do. They do not want to get the criticism. They do not want to get those looks and those watchers and viewers in class maybe, or even in any other situation you might be in life where you might raise your voice or you might stand up for yourself and or maybe for other people as well. But the thing is, we gotta have to do that, because as he said as well, just laying around, just doing nothing, never ever raising your voice and never ever standing up for yourself is not a really good option. You should do that. You should expose yourself to the criticism, to the people that are going to talk, the people that are going to talk about you, maybe even behind your back, even just because you once raised your voice and said something. But you have to ship. A lot of people are really, really afraid of it. And the thing is, I gotta have to say, it is actually no wonder that people are afraid of shipping, because it's a pretty funny thing. And this is also one of the reasons why I'm actually talking about this. But one of my friends, one of my colleagues, actually launched her first, it's a single, I guess. It's just a song, it's a song. And she launched it with a pretty nice music video. I might be linking it down in the description. I don't know. I might be doing this. I'm thinking about it. If I'm forgetting it, I'm not gonna do it, which is probably gonna be the case. But yeah, I've been sharing it on my Instagram profile and whatnot, so you might be able to find it there. And yeah, it's a pretty great song. I think it's a pretty great song, especially because it's one of her first ones, and also the music video is pretty great. Some things can be improved, of course. When you're doing just something for the first time or one of your first times, then it's just not gonna be perfect. It is what it is. It's not gonna be perfect. There might be some things that are not good or even just really bad, but who cares? Actually, the problem there is, and something that I've also seen, is that suddenly anybody and also everybody becomes an expert on cinematography, on lyrics, on singing, on various different things, which is something that's really, really interesting. Once somebody puts out something, you're gonna just hear all, I do not want to say they hate us, because most often it is not really hate, it is just unnecessary criticism or criticism just as such. And it's really interesting because as the video was dropped and also the music video was dropped and the music itself was dropped, obviously, a lot of people seem to be a little bit upset about different things, whether it be just some lines in a song or some parts in a music video, which is really interesting, because the thing is, nobody of them actually made their own music video, nor, I guess, music and or song. And now it gets interesting. Now it gets interesting because then you can actually see, or you gotta have to think, why are they criticizing this? Why are they going to just talk about it? The thing is, would they actually talk to you just when you are here? When you're actually in this location, when you're actually there? Probably not. They're probably only going to talk about you behind your back and about your stuff behind your back. Sometimes, and it actually also happened to me, those people are going to come up to you and be like, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? I would do it differently. The thing is, you should listen. And it is something that I've been talking about before, but I guess, and I also believe in the fact that we should listen. We should listen to the haters, we should listen to the quote-unquote feedback, and no criticism, and even those things that do just really not make any sense, and or also those things that come from people that know nothing and have never been ever doing those things that you are doing. And we gotta just have to listen, because even though there might be just 99% shit, the 1% that is actually some good advice or some good feedback is worth it, at my point of view. And this is also one of the reasons why I tend, I'm not always going to do that, I guess. I'm tend to listen, I'm tending to listen to what everybody is saying, even though I've also experienced it myself, as I said. A lot of people are going to talk about some bullshit, and it's going to be bullshit. And a lot of people, at first glance, which is something that I can understand, won't understand why you're doing certain things. But once you talk to them, most often and sometimes, they're going to just be like, well, yeah, I get it. But something that really annoyed me was the fact that everybody suddenly is an expert at anything. And everybody is criticizing everybody and whatnot. It is really interesting. It really is interesting. And this is just one of the reasons why I believe that it just makes sense that a lot of people are afraid of shipping, because there's going to be criticism of everybody. The thing is, I don't know. I've also seen a criticism, like with all the things, all the content that I'm putting out, sometimes people say like it's too much content because they wouldn't like to do that. They see that there is no quality in it and whatnot. And people talk. People like to talk about their opinion. Some people do just, are going to do it more, and some people are going to do it less. Of course, we are all different. But I guess, and I really just understand why people do not like to ship things. But you should, even though, which is also something that Seth was talking about, in the beginning, it might not be something that you're particularly proud of, and this is also something that I can understand and everybody else can understand, because if it is your first YouTube video, it's probably not going to be as good as your 500th one, just because, there's a lot of routine in those things, there's a lot of practice in those things. Yeah, and this is also one of the reasons why people that are making YouTube or are doing YouTube for several years are just better than your content. And you shouldn't also really compare yourself to those people. You shouldn't really compare yourself to those people that have been doing a certain thing for way, 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 way longer than you're doing it. Because why? They have been doing it for such a lot of time. You're learning from day to day. Every day you're learning something new. Potentially. Maybe you're even doing that. So yeah, what did I actually want to say? I've actually forgotten it. Fuck. Oh my god. So just ship, just ship your shit, because it's going to be not really good in the beginning, but it's going to be better and better and better and better until people are going to just maybe understand it, but maybe even appreciate it. Appreciate the work that you're doing and what you're putting out, and also the help that you're maybe even providing. People are gonna appreciate that, and people are going to notice that, and then everything is worth it. Of course, in the first beginning, everything is going to be not really good, and it has been the case for everybody. Nobody was really good at something they just started. Even though it has been something that they were passionate about for quite a long time. The first time you're going to ship is probably not going to be the best time you're shipping. At my point of view, at least. As far as I have seen it with my stuff, with other people's stuff and whatnot, there's just a lot of practice in a lot of things, There's just going to be some progress. There is going to be something, it's like a graph, in the first beginning, or in the beginning, there's no first beginning, there's just a beginning. In the beginning, it's just going to be like this, it's going to be really low, but then it's going to rise and rise and rise and rise until you're actually doing something you're really proud of. Sometimes, of course, it's going to drop again and going to rise again and whatsoever, which is fine as well. For example, this episode that I'm just recording, I'm not really happy with it. And also all those other episodes that I have been recording today, they have also not been too great. I can't really tell why, and I can't really say why I feel that way, but I kind of feel that I have had better episodes, and I have had episodes that felt a little bit better. But the thing is, only because I think they're not really that good, or maybe even not as good as some other episodes that I've recorded, doesn't mean that they actually are bad, because maybe somebody actually likes this episode really, really, really a lot and watches it fully, 30 minutes long, which is really a lot. Really, really a lot. And then, content and feedback through content. But if you're just only producing one content a year, then you're probably not gonna see the feedback or as fast as you would need. But I've actually decided to read the other articles, or the newest articles from him, because I kind of feel like, the episode hasn't been that long, and I should just read it. I'm just trying to give you as much value as I can, and I know that there is some value in it, and so why not? Open the cookies. Put a bag of cookies in the break room, and it might sit for days. Open the bag and leave it out, and within an hour all the cookies will be gone. We are happy to take a tiny slice off the thing that's being shared, but we hesitate to open the bag, which is definitely the fucking case. The same is true with all of the initiatives in our culture. Design, movements, and ideas are all trapped. waiting to be opened, and then the rest of us will happily pile on. So open the bag. And it actually is correlated to raising your hand, sending the email, doing and actually starting something, being the leader. Seth Godin is actually also often talking about just being a figure of a leader, just being a leader, just leading other people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, or has to be the case, that you are a born leader. Because, for example, I guess I am not a really born leader, but sometimes I actually kind of take the initiative, and then I am a leader. I've been actually consciously doing it. For example, last week in a bus when we actually were on our way to Amsterdam, I've been managing some things, and it was a lot of fun for me because I am in control then, and I like to be in control. And also I think the week before something, I also did something, because often I feel like things could be way faster and things could go way faster if I'm leading it, or if somebody would lead the whole thing. And then sometimes I step in and do it then. It happened 2 times, this time in the bus and the other time just the week before, and it felt really good. And in terms of the open the bag thing, I gotta have to say, when the teacher is asking something in class, and you probably also know that, and you probably also have recognized that, if the teacher is asking something and nobody's fucking raising their fucking hand, if you're the first one, there's going to be some hands as well. If you're the first one to raise your hand, there's also going to follow some, after a few seconds maybe even, or milliseconds even, which is pretty interesting. You actually have to open the bag. It's a pretty good thing. I like his metaphors. I really do like them. And another one. I'm sorry takes guts. So saying I'm sorry. I recently saw 2 men arguing about who got to use the urinal next. As a result, neither got what he wanted, and neither could honestly say that his day got better. The need to win every interaction, the inability to apologize, the short term over the long term, this isn't a sign of strength. It is a symptom of immaturity and weakness that almost always leads to suboptimal results. If apologizing engages the network and makes it more likely that we can stay in sync, it pays for itself many times over. It actually is the case. But I think, and I gotta have to emphasize the last sentence, so if apologizing engages the network and makes it more likely that we can stay in sync, actually also for a longer period of time, it pays for itself many times over. And I have to say that this is particularly true. Often just apologizing, I am sorry, or just letting the other person do his and or her shit is going to make everything a little bit better, instead of just thinking about yourself only, or only thinking about yourself, but just thinking about other people as well, which is often not the case, unfortunately. Often it's the case that people are just thinking about them, and they're thinking about how they feel and not how others might feel. And they're only talking or actually also talking, which is also something important to point out, but they're just thinking about them and not really about what other people would like to have and would like to get. Maybe the other person wants to have that last apple. Maybe the other person wants to have that carrot. Maybe the other person wants to raise his or her voice and or hand. I don't know. I, in general, which might be correlated, believe in karma and or just being a nice person. And I don't know, sometimes it just helps. Sometimes it just helps to just make decisions as well. In this case, for example, to just be a nice person. Because then you're going to be like, well, here, Jake, just take the urinal. I'm fine. I'm going to just go next. It's okay. Go first, please. And I don't know. It just might be also kind of a leader position you are in when you're doing something like that. Because you're saying, or you're telling the other person that it is fine, that this person is going first. You're deciding it. It is your decision. Which is something pretty cool, actually. Better than it needs to be. Which is actually an article that I've read by him. But it is a good one. It is a pretty great one. Every element of the organization has a spec, a minimum required performance. Accounting has standards, so does the department that measures the air quality. Everything beyond spec is marketing. That's an interesting definition, but I think it is true. All the money, effort, and time that an organization puts into making anything better than it has to be is a marketing expense. Because the extra is there to help change minds, to spread the word, to earn trust and loyalty. The head of marketing is the person in charge of what's extra, because if you want to grow, nothing is actually extra, it is simply an investment. And I, in general, really believe in what he's saying, and I really also find mostly everything. I've actually never have experienced one thing that he said that I was like, well, I don't really know, is this actually a good thing? But most often I just really have to say that all he's spreading is just really, really fucking good. It really is, and it really is also just kind of just how I view the world, because he definitely views the world as just being a good person and being a nice person and being just a good human being, at least as I'm just seeing it, as I'm just feeling it, and I also believe in that. I also believe in being a good person. I also believe in being a nice person. I also believe in giving back to the people, and I also believe in just being a nice human being, and a nice human being to be around with, and not an asshole, and not a fucking stupid motherfucker, nobody wants to be around with. I do not want to do that, I also do want to be remembered as a person that is that. Of course, not everybody's going to do that, but I want to be remembered as a good person. This is what I want to have for my life. But yeah, I guess this is actually going to be the end of the episode. I'm not really happy with how it turned out, to be honest. I can actually tell you why. I think it's the day. I actually think it's the day. On some days, everything was a little bit better. For example, yesterday's episodes were pretty fucking good. But I don't know why. It's actually kind of depending on the day, it seems to be the case. And also depending on how actually... sometimes I'm not really thinking about what I should be talking, and then episodes tend to be not as good as when I'm having just something to talk about that I have been thinking about before and whatnot, and all those things. But yeah, I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success, and I also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered, which basically is your legacy, But 3 other questions that I hope that you're going to ask yourself are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering or pissing you off the most? Because those 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even some business ideas, Because often businesses started with fixing something that was broken or fixing something that wasn't fixed back then. And there's a lot of things that are not fixed. And there's a lot of solutions that we need for certain things. So maybe you're able to just figure out a solution for a problem that we're having to fix that problem, because why not? Why not? There's probably something that really just pisses you off, and there's no solution for it yet, because if there was a solution, it wouldn't piss you off, Maybe there is a solution, but a really bad one, and so you can just make it a little bit better. But yeah, I'll see you the next time. I at least hope so. Please subscribe to the podcast and also to the YouTube channel to not leave out any good information and value. Yeah. Until then, have a nice day. Be nice. Be a good person. Be a nice person. Be a nice person to be around with. And I'll see you the next time, hopefully.